Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever part of the world you are joining us today. We are super grateful that you are here with the King's Counsel and Trust Family Office New Year Town Hall. Oh my goodness. Those of you that may have missed us, last month, we had a very powerful town hall. I'm going to drop in the recording because it was just filled with all of those great things to look at in the year to come. Dropping that in the chat right now. Really encourage you. Dale gave us some powerful things financially to look at and what's happening in the year ahead. So just want to make sure if you missed that or you didn't get to watch the whole thing, please take a look now. Those of you that are joining us for the first time, we have a number of opportunities and ways that we love to help people within this family office. How many of you have heard of a family office before? Go ahead and put in the chat, I have, or I'm new to it, or what's a family office? Let us know kind of what is your relationship with the term family office. For me, what I love about and one of the many things that makes this family office unique is that Dale has created a place where, first off, we're building community. This is an incredible family community, but also he is sharing a lot of the strategies of the ultra wealthy. And as we go into a little bit deeper, you'll hear some of where that's come from in the background, but we have the opportunity to really engage in making a greater impact and bringing the kingdom principles here and now. And that's really at the core of all that we're doing. Before we get started, Larry, do you mind please leading us in a prayer and set the
Yeah,
stage for today?
sure. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together. We thank you for life. We thank you for breath. We thank you for the opportunities and the possibilities that are here in community. And this is birthed by you. We just ask your Holy Spirit, and then we invite your Holy Spirit to lead us, to guide us, and direct us, not only in this time, but the rest of this year. And I just declare that 2024 will be the best year ever for all of us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Jesus' name. Thank you so much. And so here's today's agenda. And as those of you that have been on this journey, you're seeing that we are really getting quick, clear, and concise and very mindful of how we're navigating the town hall. So we will start with our health minute with Larry Tyler. And last month, again, if you didn't get to listen to last month, it was about digital addiction. Thank you, Larry, for shining that on light for us. This month, we are talking about mental health. Then we have the Slight Edge financial update, where every month Dale is giving us somewhat of an update of what's happening. And this month, we'll be talking about decentralized finance, DeFi, and its implications. We're also going to be featuring one of our power partners, which we're super excited about, Sam Richter. And then we're going to be diving deep into securing your legacy in 2024. And also we'll be opening it up for the breakout rooms. And I'm actually going to be talking about the event early on, more so than later. So we're going to pause for a moment and this is why we're here. I love to just be silent and read the mission and vision, and would love to hear from you. What stands out for you, if you would be so kind to put that in the chat. Aaron, thank you. Give up what you can't keep. Good news. Michaela, fulfilling God's will. Beautiful. So as we align with this vision and mission, we believe that if you're here, that this is the place where we get to fulfill this as a community. And so last month, we also dove deep into the family love letter, and just wanted to highlight that we have a family love letter workshop coming up that is going to be on the 17th. This is a 3-hour event, and you can learn a lot more about the family love letter, first off by attending, but in our town hall last month. If you're interested in participating, here is the link in the chat. And why this is so powerful is we're at the beginning of the year, and one of the things we talk about is really getting your house in order. And if something was to happen, you were to graduate early, and somebody said, you have to say what graduation means. If you were to transition, pass on, it's all about leaving your family in a good place. And this is a really powerful and beautiful workshop. You'll get all the templates. We'll be able to work through this together. And thank you, Amanda, for sharing how awesome it is. If you are an active power partner, this is included in your membership. So you do have a different link. You can actually message me here, but all of our active power partners do get to participate with this included in what you're doing. So today we get to hear from our founder and managing director, Dale Hewett Collier. He is the visionary who's brought us here. It's been such an exciting time, as he's really been for years bringing forth this new financial system, whether it be with raising capital or bringing in partners, or really navigating what's happening in the world today, and bringing these kingdom principles here today and how to live and work with them. We have Thomas Richter, who is not joining us today, but many of you know he comes from a huge background in sales. And really, I have to say, when it comes to knowing how things work, the RRSC, royalty relationship sharing, and strategies for success in the kingdom principles, Thomas is it. He's also contributed over 10,000 hours of time to our community. Aaron, are you with us today? I know we didn't hear from you last month. If you want to say hi real quick.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here this week. Yeah, I missed last week. Yeah, so this is a fantastic platform, team, community of people that really has brought my attention and awareness to the strength of what happens when people come together. So I love being here. I love the energy and what actually curates inside of this team of amazing people that just keeps growing with the power partners and all the different things. So thanks, Sharon.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for what you bring to all the projects.
Thank you.
And all that we're doing. And Larry Tyler, known as the cash flow whisperer, we're going to hear from him with the health minute, but his really strong suit is understanding those numbers, using those numbers, and again, with the kingdom principles of how to grow your business. And I love what this says. Most owners feel numbers are a grind and thus avoid them. And he really helps you understand them and have more freedom and joy with working with the numbers. Cheryl, her and Aaron are partners with Good and Crazy, and really helps us a lot with the communication and really bringing this out to the world in a bigger way. I love talking capital, love doing events, love building community, and I just feel so blessed to help all of us come together here today. Sam is our power partner today, so we'll hear a little bit more on what he does. But oh my gosh, he has been just huge instrumental in some of our funnels that we're working on, or I'm sorry, not funnels, education courses that we're working on, and the technology so that it runs smoothly and we have the greatest impact for everyone that's here. And so why are we here? We're here to build community, create those stronger relationships. And I'm stopping here for a moment because if you have not downloaded our workbook on covenants versus contracts, this is really the kind of the foundation, the pillar of what we stand for and what we do, really building trust through shared values. And so we love to showcase initiatives and really helping members navigate what's happening in the world today, or to be able to grow their business. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Larry for our health minute.
Okay, we're spending a few minutes or a minute attempting to help everyone in this community have a healthy life. The key, the context of this brief time together, and attaching a folder into the chat where there's multiple other readings or listenings to the topic of the month, is that it's very difficult, almost impossible to fulfill your God-given destiny in poor health. Moses said in Deuteronomy 34, verse 7, when God was fixing to transition him, my eyes are not dim and my facilities are all working as God designed them. That's what I want for myself and for y'all. Our topic this month is mental health or mental illness. And I don't know about y'all, but this is something I'm seeing, hearing, reading a lot about, especially in the last 4 years. And governments are getting involved with it, educational systems, school systems, medical facilities. They're all jumping aboard on this topic. And from my education and awareness, they're jumping on it and approaching it from the symptom, what they think is the symptom, and they're addressing it with pharmaceuticals. And so, in my personal opinion, this is a money issue. What is mental health? Mental health is not new. It is not getting worse. It has been an issue since the beginning of time. Management of mental health is getting worse, thus the increase of suicides. Here's one of the keys. Mental health is not a disease or illness. We're not teaching ourselves how to manage our life. We're just thinking about it. We're not teaching ourselves how to manage our lives, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This is from Caroline Leaf, who is a Christian neuroscientist with over 25 years of clinical practice, not just sitting around reading books, but an actual practice. And in her practice, she dealt with individuals from about 3 years of age to 80. And one of the keys that she found in her practice, the key root issue was identity. We do not know who we are. God designed us. He wrote a book about it. He has a destiny plan for us. And we're out there everywhere reaching and grabbing. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Wanting some kind of verification, validation from the world, but God's already given us that. Our ability to think, feel, and choose has the power of life and death and will determine the way we live our lives. Another quote from Caroline Leaf. Another quote, our choices have an impact, and those choices become our physiology. And what we believe, as well as what we believe about ourselves, alters the facts. We are not victims of our biology. Via our thoughts, we can be our own brain surgeons, and God designed us to be our own brain surgeons. And Caroline Leaf indicates in many of her writings, which I highly recommend, we are born with a love reality, an optimism bias, not a fear reality or fear-based bias. This is a mind map I put together, and I'd really invite you to screen share it. I mean, not screen share it, but take a picture of it, download it, and walk through it. See how you're thinking about your thinking. And again, mindsets are information, they're emotions, but here's one of the keys. They're based on, our mindsets are based on perception and interpretation, as well as our expectations. And this shapes our words, habits, actions, and everything we do in our life. And so basically, our lifestyle is based on our mindsets. Here's another map. It's kind of busy, but the key that I've determined or learned in the last 4 years is we're sitting here seeing all this chaos and crisis. And how are we thinking? Again, Caroline Lee says we are born with a love-based reality, optimism bias. But the chaos, the crisis that we're seeing leads us oftentimes into a fear-based reality, which then puts us in a mental health issue. But one of the keys here is God is a God who's given us our identity. God is a God of peace, not of chaos. So I'll end it with that. And I'll throw it back to you, Shannon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Larry. And, again, just for engagement, we love hearing what landed for you, what stood out the most for you in Larry's talk. Thank you, Larry, again, for putting our health, our greatest temple, at the forefront every month of what we're doing. Really appreciate that. Now, the thing that we have been waiting for, the financial edge with Dale Collier. Thank you, Dale.
And before we dive in, this sets the tone for exactly one of the list of recommended resources that Larry was talking to. If you haven't clicked on it yet, please click on it now. And there's one thing in particular I would encourage everyone, because I've done this and we're going to talk about this today. And this is the theme for the rest of 2024. And there's 10 reasons why your life might suck. For real. That's the name of the book. And, the bottom line is, to use a quote out of there, the big wake up call is, if the coins keep falling out of the hole in your pocket, the answer is not to go out and get a second job. We've got to stop, pause, and look back in 2023. What's going to be different about this year? If your life sucks and you're honest with yourself and you're looking in the mirror and nobody else is around, what's going to be different? I would propose to you that what's going to be different, we don't need to pray about this. We've already prayed before. This is the result of us taking action. Everyone that's gotten an invitation from me to be, to step up and be a power partner this year is because we went deep last year. We dug in and we needed to work on ourselves, as it were, before we recognized that we could go bless others. We put the mask on ourselves. We learned to love ourselves. We learned to shore up our foundation and lean into the Holy Spirit to guide us in a way, because the world is out to get us in some shape or form. Make no mistake, when we talk about trust in corporate services, we're not attorneys, we're not tax people, we're not financial people. They all suck too. They work for the government in some shape or form. There's licenses and regulations around all of that. And if you don't know that your 401k is broken yet, if you're in America, I've got a link that I'll drop after I speak on this DeFi moment. The decentralized finance, and you won't have to take our word for it, just trust that it's outside of the purview of their regulations. If you haven't figured out that the banking system's broke, try pulling out some cash, try sending some cash. I don't care what form you need to send in these days, but it seems like if we have a real-time system, with all of the fintech, you telling me that we can't get money from one place in this world within 5 days somewhere else? I'd say something's wrong with that picture. And in this case, if it ain't broke, break it. That's not good enough. When we're getting closer and closer to information compounding in a more real-time microwave economy, we need systems to keep up. And what decentralized finance does is, very much in the Six Sigma of the systems engineering way of looking at things, is it pulls out all of those non-essential elements or non-valuable elements with which to be able to remit a resource from one place to another. I'll leave it at that. After I'm done here and we get on to a few other things, I'll post a few links so you don't get distracted. Suffice to say, our solution specifically, King's Counsel and Trust, the family office ministry that we are, is a faith-based organization. And as such, we don't need to go ask anyone for permission to exercise our First Amendment God-given right to freely assemble, to exercise our speech, to practice our faith, and to privately contract with one another. The reason we have the Second Amendment is to defend the first one. It's not something that we could remove. And so CQRvault.org is our version, our first go live version of this decentralized finance. It's all on a private ledger. It's all outside of their jurisdiction. And before I get into the balance of the theme for 2024, I'll leave you with this. If relationships are the currency of 2024, trusted relationships, who do you trust? Who are you going to trust that your life doesn't suck anymore? What's going to be different? Who's going to be different? And all I'm saying is here, if you don't like what our tribe stands for, find another tribe, because this idea of financial independence that's been taught for a long time is this is the way, this is the only way. Well, I'm here to say it's not sustainable. It doesn't work in the long term. We need to be part of community, a tribe, whatever you want to call that. But we need something more than just that. We need it to work. I don't know about you. When I think about a relationship, I'm not looking for sustainability. I'm looking for, yeah, this is great. I'm better together than I am. It's not just, I'm just getting by and it's, sustainability sounds boring. I want better than sustainability. And what we're doing in decentralized finance is not just a currency exchange in a form of remittance. It's not just a place where we can share in our intellectual property. It's all of our opportunities. We're being able to tokenize in a way that we don't get in trouble with the regulators. My job here is compliance, is to kind of keep us out of jail. You don't have to know all of that, but you do have to trust somebody on your team that knows a little bit about something, because I'm suggesting to you, if your attorney doesn't know what's going on in the world, find a new one. If your accountant doesn't know what's going on in the world, find a new one. I'll go so far as to say, if your pastor doesn't know what's going on in the world, find a new one. It's that serious. God's told us time and time again, my people perish for lack of vision. They can't see, and they lack knowledge. Where are you going to get your knowledge from in the year ahead? More to come. That's my decentralized finance moment. I hope that was enough to tease you to maybe look over the wall, outside of the wall, beyond the USD jurisdiction. There's something better, but it does require action on your part. I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you, Dale. I have to say, I love learning so much from this group and you as far as the finances. Everything is changing so much, and thank you for picking topics that keep us ahead of the game. Sam Richter, we had a chance to talk a little bit about him last month, but you may recognize the last name. Yes, he is related to Thomas. Sam is Thomas's son, and I have to say, oh my goodness, he has been such, talk about the youth being our future leaders. And he really just been an incredible catalyst for our systems, communication, project management. They labeled him as the tech problem solver. And one of the things I love about you, Sam, is, oh my gosh, you are committed to figuring it out until you don't you keep at something until there's resolve. And so, Sam, do you mind just saying a little bit about yourself? And Michaela, if you'll drop in his LinkedIn, you definitely want to connect with Sam. And Dale, did you want to say anything before Sam speaks? Because I know you have a chance to work with him too.
I know everybody.
Yes.
Encourage you all to kind of rub elbows and reach out.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's funny that you kind of pick out wanting to fix something and get there until it's done. I started out when I was at the university on the tech helpline for the university. So I did a lot of asking people what they thought was the problem, and then trying to get them happy with their solutions. So a lot of that comes from that fact, is I'm not happy until you're happy. So yeah, and that goes with our systems, anything else that we're doing, projects, or even just ideas about how things could change, or how they might work better for people.
I love it. And he has all of us in mind. So thank you, Sam. You have made my life just incredible. I wish we lived closer, because I would be hugging you and sending you a virtual hug now. You'll get to see a lot of his work in our education pieces that are coming together. And we are so fortunate. We talked a little bit about Michaela last month, and Sam, that here we do have the youth stepping up and being the leaders to help carry this forward and bring this innovation to make our lives easier and simpler and things like that. So if you haven't checked out the education piece, go to kctfo.com. This is our intro course, and we love to get everybody up to speed on some of the language and what we're doing and why we're here and how we're making an impact. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dale again, where we're talking about securing our legacy in 2024.
This little segment is really as a primer for the next week family love letter topic we're going to spend and try to accomplish in about 3 hours. It could take longer, but in terms of what's important this year as you're preparing for this, 3 points: legacy and values-based planning. If you don't stand for something, you won't stand for anything. You may have heard that. And more to the point, if you don't set a good example for your kids to follow, who are they following? You know, it starts with moms, dads, and I'm a significant male influence in a lot of families with kids. I'm Uncle Dale in certain circles. Some have even closer to dad. That's pretty cool. But one thing I see oftentimes as a thread in that is they get together, they play together, they togetherness is actually a value. They're not seeking to be financially, as it were, independent, get out of the house and go get a job and never see you again. And then when you get older, then you put your mom and dad in a box. We call that assisted living because they don't want to take care of you anymore. Only in America. You know, that's important to look at, not just the practicality of why that's important, but I think as a significant male dude, that the cool thing is when your older kids want to spend time with you because they value you. Do you have that in your homes? Why or why not? And if your mom or dad's still around, you don't have that, it's up to you to make a difference. Because at this late age, you know, they may be thinking about getting into heaven. You can maybe go help with that and reconcile your relationship, as it were, as Malachi in the Last Testament, where the sons and fathers were reconciled to one another. I had that a chance before my dad passed. That was pretty cool. Number 2, next generation preparedness. Why that's important, what we do in our business planning, I am a process of we're never done until we're done. And usually that means if we haven't planned for it to succeed, it means it's done too. I would profess that what your name of what's been spoken over you is so prophetic that it was supposed to not return void. That what we put here, the seed we plant, the children we raise, the business plans we co-vest with are supposed to move on and live on without us. And so one of the second things that we test for is not just is it built to last, but is it built to work without you? Because if it doesn't work without you, well, then it dies with you. And there's nothing about quadrant number 2. And this is why those advisors, they're really smart. You know, the people with a lot of letters after their name, they all built their businesses. A lot of pastors do, I might add. First name, last name, law firm, ministry, tax firm. If you get the idea. The problem is when they stop working, they stop selling time. Usually it stops too. How can a businessman like that give the business owner advice about what works? It's incongruent. And yet more than 80% of the time, the business owner's leaning on these 2 cats that are in the box with their thinking about how to make better and more informed decisions. So I would contend that the next generation preparedness is really looking at taking yourself out of the equation and who's your successor. That doesn't always have to be bloodline, blood family. You know, Jesus was a big fan of spiritual brothers and sisters, as it were. There's a lot of problems with nepotism in closely held businesses. That is very real. You know, boundaries are not very well defined, for example. So it doesn't always have to be someone within the family, but something to be thinking for between now and next week. The third point, and this is where I'd like to hang on a little bit, and I want to also drop in the notes, is adapting to regulatory changes. Is everyone aware that as of January 1st this year, you have to disclose all beneficial owners, beneficiaries, as the case may be, under the so-called Corporate Transparency Act? Is that a surprise to anyone? All right, here's what it means in a nutshell. It means that if you've got a business that you filed some piece of paperwork with the Secretary of State, or the federal government for that matter, if you're a corporation as opposed to company, that you've got to tell them everything. And then there's another regulation, it's called MiCA. Thank you, Europe. They had the best of intentions of dealing with the crypto space about more or less disclosing where all of your crypto is. Not all about you, but we are, I should say more appropriately, the King's Counsel and Trust Family Office Ministry, a faith-based organization, is not filed with the state. It is by definition an unincorporated association. It's a private membership group. We have the First Amendment. And government doesn't control that. That's a God-given thing. But I would contend that if we don't understand our rights, sometimes we may as not well have any. And so in your planning for this year, if you have not addressed what you're going to do about that, you might want to think about that, because here's the bigger picture. Take a step back. If Klaus Schwab says in 2030 that we're going to own nothing and be happy about it, I would propose to you all that between now and the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of legislation that is going to take it from you. How else are you going to give up all your stuff? It starts January 1st. And if you don't know any better, and the people that you go to for advice don't know any better, by the time 2030 rolls around, you have nothing. Is that what you want for you, your families, your organizations? It's a big deal. There's a lot more about that. Suffice to say, I would ask, we mentioned it before in previous discussions, who do you trust? They are people of integrity. They are competent. They are dependable. And more than that, they care. They're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Everybody likes to hear, when is it coming? When's the resource? When's my allowance? I don't give guidance like Wall Street does. I don't do monthly reports. I don't know dates and I don't know times, but I do know how I get to choose and show up every day. This is in full integrity and a good example for the inner circle of people that I work with and clients that we've been around for more than a dozen years. We're here to stay. Unless the Lord takes us home, we've got a job to do. And we're providing that Goshen, as it were. Some of you may have heard in prophetic circles. I would invite you to revisit Genesis 47. Our role in the world is like Joseph was as an archetype to Pharaoh, because when his advisors failed, when he had the dream about the fat cow and the skinny cow, fat cow sounds nice, but what's the strategy to deal with the skinny cow? The skinny cow came after the fat cow, you see? And I'm going to suggest to, especially those in America, we haven't seen the worst of anything yet. We can't imagine what that's going to be like. And I don't know how better to implore you to get your house in order than to start with this family love letter and get the rest of your family on board. Because if you can't trust your family, I'm going to suggest get some new family. That might be a little uncomfortable, but if it's not going to work, please find something that works. Doing nothing is not an option. And with that, I'll stop there. I could go on. This is a favorite topic of mine. Let's get ready, peeps. We've mentioned this before. It's worth mentioning again. When it comes to King's Counsel, there's a few terms and phrases that we throw out a lot. And it's like, where in the world did that come? That's not in Webster's dictionary, or that's not something I hear in the regular business commercial sector. The ICOVEST Academy was designed to take you through basically 4 levels of information, each one being a progressive, deeper dive into more of what that means. And what do we mean by ecclesiastical trust? Why are we decentralized? Why are we unincorporated, as it were? DeFi is not a new term. It's an unincorporated association. We're not asking the government for permission. ICOVEST is really there to go so much deeper than we could ever do in one of these previews. So that's one. And if we're good there, we can go on to the next one. Mentioned this before. We initially started with the idea of a wallet. And then we recognized, well, the problem is we got so many different wallets for everything. We needed something more substantial. So it grew into what we refer to as a vault. And in your vault, you can pretty much keep anything you want, have access to anything you want, all together in a decentralized distributed ledger format. This is really designed at its core to be able to get back to a lawful money standard. Lawful money is one of those terms, gold and silver, and so much more. This is something we're pretty excited about. And with the 7th Amendment guarantees us our right to step into common law. If you all know what the 7th Amendment is, it's worth looking into in terms of that's all you need to get started. 21 silver coins. Next one. Ooh, yeah, this is the mystery scam. Well, everybody's heard of insurance. Does anybody have any idea about what assurance is? This is that. We know that in the last several years, there's been those that either have policies that can't afford policies, that would need to have policies, but can't afford to have policies. What we're getting together and doing as a community, you certainly learn more about it here, is to be able to come together and share together. This is the acts-based economy in terms of what it is to have mutual assurance, not insurance. That's a regulated thing. Assurance is, I trust you. I know that if something happens to me, you've got my family's back, or something to that effect. It's learning to bank on each other without being a bank. No one said we need to be a bank. We need to have something much more deeper and substantial. You've heard the saying, blood's thicker than water. When it comes to family, who's your family? This is our ecclesiastical family getting together. This is an assurance syndication. Our goal this year, for everyone who wants to provide benefits for their employees, as the case may be, not just themselves or their family, is to do 1,000 new whole life insurance policies. We've got a major insurance company behind this that's willing to work with us to be able to make that happen. It's pretty exciting. Please go learn about it more here. We'll be talking about this in the month or two to come. And I'm still working on a few links in the meantime. Take any questions that someone may have at this time.
Dale,
Yes, sir.
Kevin here. To start the vault, you said it takes 21 coins.
21 silver coins by as defined by the 7th Amendment of our Bill of Rights. Absolutely.
And so
And we can add an unlimited value to that and exchange with other currency pairs, other metals, other opportunities, non-fungible tokens. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
okay, 21 coins is a value of what to get started approximately?
It's all subject to spot price. So
Right.
it actually does trade in real time. But if you look at the spot price of silver, it's trading, mid-20s right now. There is a small, as it were, markup to cover the expenses of getting it from where it is to get it into our hands and distribute it to the vault and so on and so forth. Because we're using sovereign coins, this is meaning that it's a government minted coin. It means it comes with the guarantee that it's at least 3 nines, or in some cases pure. And for those with retirement plans, it's the only form of sovereign metal that you can have in your self-directed individual retirement account. Rounds, bars, and other forms of numismatic collectibles typically are not allowed unless they meet the purity and or have the sovereign guarantee behind them. So we've got a lot of that covered. It's probably more than you wanted to know, but everybody needs to know. Thank you for asking.
Can I ask another question?
Shoot.
So I guess I just can get a hold of you or Shannon or somebody, even Thomas, to figure out how to get this set up. Interesting question for the breakout. What do you want to do new this year? This would be one of them.
Love that answer.
Yeah.
Thomas is the go-to guy because we want to be able to make sure that we have the lineage of how we, the sponsoring assembly is taken care of. Thomas has been through the schooling, and I might also add, because Mark Janice real well, he's there. So don't be afraid to give Mark a poke and say, hey, bro, how does this work?
Okay, will do. Yeah, I
Sure.
haven't talked to him about that. All right.
Yeah, it's one of those obvious things. Unless you think about it, you wouldn't actually, how do you do this? But I like that you asked the question because it's one of those obvious things. You think you know somebody till you don't really know, and something like this comes up.
Interesting. So one last question. So if advising the family here between now and 2030, what would you advise getting in that vault? Some percentage of your your income, some percentage of what it takes you to survive on a yearly basis, or what?
If you just approached the precious metals aspect of it, I think it's prudent to have that in your possession at all time, and or with someone that you trust at all time. And what that means is, it's not a cookie cutter answer, but basically it looks like this. If the world goes to hell in a handbasket, as they all indicate that it might at some point in time, can't predict it, we need to be able to have some walking around money. Silver's been around since the Bible and before. And so we look at silver as a currency where you get the cup of coffee or the fuel, as the case may be. So think of what your monthly budget would look like in terms of, if it's $5,000 a month, let's just say, or 10 or whatever. I would have at least that portion, 3 months worth of walking around silver money, because especially if electricity is going out, I don't care how much Bitcoin you have, it ain't working. Just say. And if you're stuck in a blizzard because of what's just blowing through this country right now, it ain't working. So I hope nobody freezes to death. But the point is, electronic going all digital, I don't think is a prudent idea. It's back to the mix of physical stuff. Gold I would have as a store of wealth, in which case, because it's a lot easier to move an ounce of gold than it is an ounce of silver, in terms of a lot of silver still to make 1 ounce of gold. So proportionally speaking, I would have at least 1 to 2 months in gold as well, because those are nice for big chunks. But beyond that, we've already seen there's been a lot of manipulation in gold and silver. We still suspect that there is, because on the one hand, they've been naysaying the Bitcoin, for example, for some time. And if you were at Chase, which is the Federal Reserve's bank, you can't buy it, or good luck, you have a lot of difficulty. On the flip side, just this summer, BlackRock's been saying this is the next big thing, and to basically digitize gold. That's a scary thought when you've got 2 major institutions saying this is evil and this is a good idea. They both can't be wrong. They both can't be right. And how do you play that game? That's a deeper discussion for anyone that wants to go farther on that.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Yeah, you got time for one more there, Dale?
Sure enough.
I was wondering if you'd heard much about the with the banks taking the underlying securities of the debt in real estate, for example, like real estate mortgages, that sort of thing. It sounds as if one of the ways they're going to be stealing people's wealth is by actually taking that underlying security. So let's say even if you have your mortgage almost paid off, maybe you got another year left or whatever. They're just going to, because of the house of cards they built with the derivatives and the whole thing will just kind of come crashing down, that they're going to take the actual security, the underlying security. I wondered if you could speak to that at all, and if we should be if any of us have mortgages, for example, should we be having those discharged as quickly as we possibly can?
The best way I know how to do that succinctly is to let them default, meaning that most mortgages, this is contract law 101, most mortgages, your mortgage payment is payable in probably USD or some USD currency equivalent. If it's Canadian, for example, whatever the local currency is. Where they're going to try to have that grab is take advantage of the people that don't know their contract law, and they're going to suggest that you pay them in USDC or some other crypto or some other digital currency, as the case may be. And if we do that, and we carry a mortgage, by default, we set precedent that we're basically giving that adhesion contract in that new currency, and shame on us. But you heard it here. We want them to default. Their contract says dollars. If they refuse dollars, done. It's a little bit more than that, but that's the short answer for anyone that has a mortgage. any instrument that has been securitized, as it were, as a loan and then sold the back door, 30, 60, 90 days later, could be a car for all I know. The point is, if there's a loan and there's an asset attached to it, chances are that contract says it's payable in dollars. Do not let them get away with just saying that digital currency is the same or equivalent, because it's not. I hope that wasn't
you.
too much of a surprise. for everyone.
Well, no, it gives me a few more questions, but that's okay.
I can imagine.
I just
As
have a
always.
comment.
Yeah.
I have a comment too, and Dale, maybe you'd want to comment on it, but all the cryptos that I've been playing with, Novatech, GS2, whatever, all these things, they all seem to be frozen right now, shut down, locked down, only can't do business in the US. So, I have about 15 or 20 different cryptos that I play with. And it's seriously, and they have billions of dollars and they have their own blockchain and all this stuff, and they're all getting shut down. Like they're all frozen right now and being locked out of the US. So that's my experience. I don't know how anybody else is experiencing.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like 2008. A lot of people got in real estate, but they've never had their liquidity event to get out of it. And they're stuck holding stuff still.
Mhm.
And the same situation happened with a lot of Y2K stuff. Everybody thinks the world's going to blow up, leave it to a man to divine a software system that ends in 1999. They weren't thinking that it goes into 2000 and beyond. But be that as it may, there's a lot of people that got into tech stocks there that never had their liquidity event. So it's an intentional squeeze. It happens about every 8 years. I believe that, if we look at 2008, 16, 24, it's ripe for another squeeze. And I think the big squeeze is going to be in the digital crypto space.
And also, and I don't want to spread rumors, but I'm seeing on the internet that the rumors are that Iraq is de-dollarizing and that they're not allowed to use the dollar over there. I don't know the truth of it, but all I know is things are changing.
Most
everybody joining BRICS and all
countries
that.
and corporations continue to de-dollarize. We'll be continuing to look for projects that deal with what we need in terms of fixed value. Got to eat, we got to have water, food, transportation, power, things of that nature. Ideally, we want to be localized in getting behind those things. Ideally, we'd like to use our royalty approach of doing that so we can be inclusive, not just restricting to the upper crust of elites. And where we can help abroad, great. But I think it's really time that we're, especially Shannon and I, when pandemic happened a few years ago, we got to love your neighbor. What does that look like? I think this is a nice way of kind of revisiting that. What does that look like if it so-called hits the fan? What are we going to do about it? It's better to be prepared and not need it than need it and not have it, and that's where things get silly.
There's so much evidence that the shift is hitting the fan.
Yes. Become a fertilizer manufacturer. There's a good outcome. I don't need to make light of it, but I do kind of have an optimistic sense of humor.
We do need to be light of it. We want to leave this feeling good and hopeful and inspired that we have tools and we have community and so
I liken it to this. I pray everyone is able to kind of see the same. There's good in all things. If we would have the eyes of Christ to be able to speak life into, I'll just say problems, we get to show up with solutions. It's our thinking that is different. That is the biggest, greatest potential value that we collectively at King's Counsel have to offer, is we think and do differently than mainstream jurisdictional regulatory counsel. Bottom line, I've often said, and jokingly, the day Dale stops asking questions, you can check me in. I'm probably not feeling too well. But that's just it. AI can't do what we do. It doesn't create anything. It's only going to grab what's already been digitized. But mind you, it's learning at a phenomenal rate. And I would suggest to you that it's going to learn how BlackRock did what it did and will surpass it. It has every means of taking it down. And what's dangerous about that, when you think about it, starts growing and learning and now starts doing what it's learned. Could it be conceivable that 85% or more of its global GDP, now that's controlled by BlackRock, shifts hands within the next decade? Who's going to own it? These are very real things. We get to do something about it. I'm excited personally. But your soul is that's what we're here to do. And I'm going to suggest that we've just got to go back to the 10 reasons why life might suck in 2023 or earlier, is because for most of us, we haven't learned to invest our soul in his purpose. And I'm talking his, and put the Lord your Father first and seek his kingdom first, and everything will be added to it. Most of us are interested in what's cheap at the expense of putting our neighbor out of business because we like things coming from China, and now we don't. We can't make up our mind. We get collect more stuff than we know what to do with. We don't know why we buy anything. But we keep voting with our dollars, with our soul's energy for the other system. That's got to stop. And until and unless that shift happens, King's Counsel can't help you. I hope that doesn't apply to each of you on this call, but that's a mindset thing. That's a heart thing. When that gets right, and the rest of it just starts to fall in line. So thanks for hanging around, everyone, with a few extra questions. I know we're over a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Dale. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I feel like putting somebody on the spot. If you don't mind, just as a final remark, Michaela, you are a young adult here hearing this. Any takeaways, anything that you want to share that could leave us also inspired by this incredible stuff? Thank you, Dale. Thank you so much.
I definitely am always grateful to be a part of this, and what is to come further. And I wrote it in the chat earlier, like one of the things that it triggered for me was like Psalms 13:22. I had to look up what the verse was, or Proverbs. And it was just like, we're here to, like a good man, he passes on wealth, not only to his children, but to his children's children. And wealth can be many things. It doesn't necessarily mean money. It can be faith, it can be wisdom, and all these things. So it's really cool to be part of that, like children's to be able to share the legacy on. So that's all I have. I don't my mom just sent me a message saying, hey, want you to close out, and I don't know what that means, but I'm closing it out. Bless everyone. Thank you for being here, and I'm always grateful to be a part of all the knowledge and things that come from this.
Awesome. And Dale has one more to share. I think you inspired something else.
No, I'm excited. Some know that we have tomorrow's leaders today. What that means is if you've got young adults in your life, they could be your kids, or maybe you're an aunt or an uncle, somebody else's kids. You get the idea. This isn't just for adults. I really like working with younger people, and Michaela and Sam, for example, really good examples of folks that understand what we're doing, why we're doing, and how relevant that is in a world right now where kids, especially those in like a university setting, is this all there is? Is this as good as it gets? Just the job prospects and the reality of life is just whacking them right now. And, with so many questions around the student loan issue, and, they just question an authority because somebody says so, it doesn't make it right or so. And I would suggest that Michaela and Sam both could be good examples to anyone. If you want to invite them, by all means, start talking with them. They don't need to talk to me. But anyway, I know some of you all have kids is the point. Let's not leave them out. Let's be inclusive. That could be a different thing for this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done.
All right, thank you.
Thank
See
you.
everybody next month. The replay is on YouTube, so make sure I put that link there in the beginning to be able to access last month. Once we get this quickly edited, you'll be able to find the replay with all of the tools and save the chat again, because I noticed that Dale put something else in the chat. So make sure you save it again, and there's the YouTube link there, and it'll automatically save the last version. Thank you, Cheryl, Aaron, Julie, everybody on the inner team.
Thank
And
you.
we are looking for team members and power partners. So reach out to us if you want to join our mission. Thanks. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.